Welcome back. Today, in this podcast style episode, we're talking to Alex, who is a computer repair guy. So he's got lots of close-up, and he started with minus 3.75 diopters in January of 2018, and he has since passed the DMV driver's license vision test with no glasses. So, per the state, he's allowed to drive his car without wearing any glasses, which is excellent progress. He does say that he wears minus 0.75 glasses occasionally, nighttime, other circumstances, but let me not take away from this entire episode. Here's Alex.
Yeah, my name is Alex. I started in 2016. Optometrist told me I needed -3 in my left eye, -3.75 in my right eye, with just a quarter diopter of astigmatism in the right eye. Currently I'm wearing, really, I'm not really wearing glasses in general. Also wear them sometimes when I'm driving. I'll wear them in certain situations, like, sometimes if I'm watching TV or something, far enough away, doing a little active focus on subtitles, I wear like -3.75. But in general, I'm not wearing any glasses day to day. I did pass the vision exam at the DMV, so I'm not like required to wear glasses while I drive. Especially when it's sunny out, there's no issues there seeing, read street signs, read everything just fine. So yeah.
And you're saying you're wearing what when you're watching TV sometimes?
Sometimes I'll wear -0.75.
0.75, yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And that's not that long. From 2006, well, it is kind of long, I guess, 2016 to
Well,
now.
I started in January of 2018. So I didn't actually start in December. December of 2016 is when I was given that correction, and I haven't been to the optometrist since. So that's why I said that. So I actually started improving my vision in January of 2018, and so I'm just over pretty much exactly 2 years right now.
Nice. And how did you find Endmyopia in the first place?
I don't know. I probably have a somewhat similar story to a lot of people. I guess longer version would be, I got that, correction in 2016. I didn't actually order glasses at the time though, because I felt like, well, I see fine, so what's the point? I didn't have anything wrong with my glasses. I actually went in because I had a floater in my right eye, like, just like a little, I don't know what you call it. Maybe that is the correct term or not, but it's like just a little dot. It was really annoying. And I'd had it for a while. So I went in just to, have him look at my eye, make sure there wasn't anything wrong with my eye, I guess, because I didn't know what was normal. So anyway, he said, oh yeah, it's fine, whatever. Your eyes got worse, dilated my eyes, of course, and did that whole thing too. But he told me I needed stronger correction, and it was just like slightly stronger than what I had before. And I'd never had astigmatism correction before. And after hearing like, a quarter diopter of astigmatism correction, it was just kind of like, that's like weird, and I thought kind of crossed my mind at that point. Like, again, a thought I've had a few other times, maybe glasses do cause myopia or like make it worse. But I didn't really think about it too much after that. And pretty much a whole year had passed. And then I heard about my uncle, actually, somewhat similar story to Matt. My uncle got an email, he found it in his junk, about some like pills or something to fix your eyes. And so he said something to me about it, or to my wife about it, for who knows what reason. But anyway, so it got me thinking, like, oh, that's weird. Yeah, that's just silly. Whatever, something that could make your eyes better. That's ridiculous. And then, I don't know, I was driving in my car, like a few days later, I just felt like the Lord tell me, like, you can fix your eyes. Like I just knew it. I knew with absolute certainty somehow I could reverse my myopia and fix my eyes or something. I knew something was possible, but I had no idea how. So of course I jump on YouTube and start doing a bunch of searches, come across the Bates method, and start looking at all of that stuff. You know, do the palming, you know, look at the sun and go like this, or whatever during like a sunset or whatever. But you know, they said you can't wear your glasses at all. So I tried taking them off and just like, oh, I'm just gonna live my life without my glasses. That was terrible, you know, terrible 20 minutes until I decided that was stupid because it was just so blurry. I couldn't do life like that. It was just not possible. And then I came across one of Angie Hepp's videos, and it was titled something like Quitting Bates Method. She found something else or something to that effect. So I started watching that, and she talked about myopia, and I was like, oh, there we go. This looks legit. She was explaining it, and it sounded like something that made sense. So I went and checked it out, and yeah, that's it.
Angie has some good videos too, and I noticed like some of her stuff has like 1 million views, which is kind of ironic because like we've been doing this, and it's probably because of my face and the ramblings, but we get like tiny little amounts of attention, and then Angie makes one video and everybody gets to see it. It's funny though.
Yeah, she had some really good videos.
Yeah, she puts effort into it too. Like she explains stuff well, and she's got like good lighting and everything. Like she's on point. Even your videos, I've watched some of your stuff, and I'm like, you put more effort into this than I have since the dawn of our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I don't know. My first video, I was so orange. I had the exposure off of the camera, and I could not fix it in post. It was just demolished. But I couldn't re-record, so that would have been, I don't know, too much, a lot of time.
Was it an easy process for you? Did you run into any challenges? Were you just reducing diopters? Was there anything particular that you feel like is a highlight of your journey?
Well, I don't know. Like some people have a really hard time getting active focus, and I feel like that was kind of me as well. I tried for a while. I like really tried, but I just couldn't get it at first. So, you know, I kind of took a break, didn't do it for a little while. And I probably even like 3 months it went by or so. And I still haven't really, like, I believed in it. I'm like thinking about it a lot. I'm like reading stuff, but I hadn't actually had that active focus moment. And I was looking at it was like a remote, and I was holding it at about arm's length, and it had this teeny tiny white writing on it. I cleared it up, and it was like, whoa, like that's it. It's crazy. And so that was a really big moment, and then that was super encouraging too. And that was kind of about the time, you know, because I started in January, so that was about the time summer was coming, and it was a great opportunity to spend a lot of time outside, get a lot of really good active focus in, and then my improvement was felt like at that point was just going really fast. And I remember my first reduced, I guess something that stuck out to me, my first reduction that I did, my first like lower correction, you know, I measured and my centimeters and then got like a quarter diopter lower than that. Right away I got them in the evening, and I was super excited. I put them on. I'm like, yeah, things are a little bit blurry. And then I went to Walmart, and I thought, this is terrible. I can't read anything. Like these are barely, like these aren't even, like these are pretty strong. Like, you know, they're like 2 point something, and, you know, they're both about 2-ish, 2 something. And I couldn't read anything. It was just, everything was just so stinking blurry. Of course, that was the end of the day. I probably had extraciliary spasm, but it cleared up really quick after that. Probably within a week, I was feeling really confident with those classes.
Yeah, the kind of lighting, that fluorescent lighting in those places is
Yeah,
also really mess with you. And then
yeah,
for people who listen to this or watch this, the zero diopter reset, also really important. I always say don't wear glasses for a while before you switch, and start off new glasses in the morning so you avoid this experience, because it can be pretty discouraging, right? Like if you
yeah,
get new glasses and you're wearing the high diopter first, like your visual cortex is expecting a certain amount of clarity. Like you said, you
mhm,
just went through the whole day already, so you probably have some ciliary spasm, it's dark, and then you're going to a place that only has fluorescent lighting, and you're wearing the lower diopters, it's like stacking all the odds
yeah,
against you. And for
yeah,
people who are still skeptical, and if that's your first experience, that's like, wow, that this is, and from there it can be more challenging to continue, because you have this mental space where you're like, wow, these suck. So when you put them on, you're not enjoying clarity. It's like more blur, right? Like, so zero
yeah,
diopter, not wearing glasses first and starting them off fresh is super helpful, because then you don't have this context of
yeah,
stuff used to be more clear.
yeah, yeah. It's hard when things get really blurry, but I think that that was kind of, I'm not necessarily recommending that people do that, but one thing that I thought was really cool about that experience is I remember it was very clear in my mind how like horrifically blurry everything was. And then really within a week, things were so much better. You know, I mean, it was like, it was just so obvious, like super obvious that my eyes, you know, had to have improved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that adaptation goes both ways, because the people tell the same stories when they first get glasses. It's like, yeah, my eyesight wasn't amazing, but then they put glasses on, things get so much clearer, but then when you take them off, everything that was sort of okay before is now a huge blur. Like this
Right.
adaptation, that it's weird to me that this is such an alien concept, right? Like that this adaptation of your eyes goes in both directions just about the same way. Like stronger glasses and weaker glasses have the same but opposing effect.
Hmm. Yeah, and I remember that exact same experience when I first got glasses. I didn't think I needed them until I put them on, and then I compared, and I was like, "Oh man, like that sign across the street is definitely clear with these glasses on." You know, and I'm sure I had ciliary spasm at the time, you know, but I mean, I was reading the sign across the street, so clearly it wasn't like really bad. So
Yeah. And then from then you were just how often were you making reductions?
um, at first, I was going really, really fast. Probably almost a diopter a month, and but it was summertime, spending a lot of time outside, and it completely consumed my thought life. I mean, like day and night. It's like I'm always thinking active focus, active focus, active focus. And I'm like, clear it up, you know, look over here, clear it up. And so I don't know if maybe, you know, that had something to do with it too, but I don't know. First, that first, you know, 2018 summer, super fast improvements. Then as winter came, improvement definitely slowed, but still kept a decent pace. And then once I got down to about one diopter or so, could really tell that seemed like the improvement was slowing. And so um, I've been wearing probably the 0.75 for like over 6 months, probably. Of course, I guess I'm not really wearing them very often, but that's kind of where I've been at for a while. And I think part of it's my work. I repair computers and phones for a living. And so I spend a lot of time like super close up. Like when I'm fixing a phone, I'm probably like 10 inches away from it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I have to be like, you know, right there. So I've started wearing plus point 0.5 for a lot of my close up now. And so, we'll see where that goes. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I have a whole thing on that that's not publicly released yet. And I'm hesitant because everybody always wants a shortcut, right? And as soon as you hear, oh, plus lenses, last year or the year before, there was just a flood of people, for whatever reason, being all about plus lenses, and that finally stopped because it's kind of a case by case thing. But like what you're doing, a little bit of plus, especially if you start off wearing them just a little bit and then seeing how that works and then wearing a little bit more, but not necessarily all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, because you already know active focus and having active focus practice, combining that with plus lens wear, like maybe half the time, depends really where your comfort level is, can be pretty helpful with that last diopter, especially when work requirements are just something you can't help.
Right.
Like I wear plus lenses too, because I trade, and like editing these videos and stuff, like there's too much close-up time. And when I step away from it, I'm just like, okay, I can feel the ciliary spasm. I can feel like how my vision's not resolving very quickly. And at that point, it makes sense to compensate a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you like fixing Mac?
Do you think that that's a good, like, plus 0.5? Do you think that's good?
Yeah, and it mainly depends on the distance. I also generally recommend to buy not drugstore glasses, like get decent quality lenses, because
I tried the ones at Walmart. Oh my gosh, they were so bad. I couldn't. I threw them away. So I ordered some. So yeah, that's definitely true. Don't buy the ones at Walmart.
Yeah, and you can also go a bit higher, like considering where you're at, depending at that close distance. There's nothing wrong with buying a plus 0.75 and a plus 1 and just having them around, and then maybe taking a half an hour of a day where you're just feeling it and trying the 0.75. Don't rush it, right? Because just like with minus focal planes, it's all in the stimulus opportunities all in one focal plane change, right? Like, so don't go, oh, now I'm putting on the plus 1 and now I'm putting on, like, just pick the slightly higher one, try that for a little while. Don't overdo it, right? Because you're going to start feeling your eyes get dry and you're going to start feeling a little bit of strain. At that point, the benefit of plus is totally negated. But just a little bit, you can play with it and just see where your tolerance is. And also consider that any change that you'll notice from the plus may take a few months, right? So because the biggest mistake people make is making too many focal plane changes and overdoing the process in general, right? So with plus especially, you just want to take it super easy. Go, I'm going to assume this works. I'm going to wear them part of the time and then just spend 2 or 3 months just not thinking about it again, basically.
Yeah, it is easy to get ahead of yourself. That's for sure. Like what seems like the closer you get, like the lower you get, the easier it is to go too fast. There was a couple times when you get a little carried away, like, oh, you put on like the next, because I had ordered like a few at a time, the next few reductions or whatever, put on the next week or one and be like, oh, this is fine. Look at that. I can clear this up. But like, it's just, if it's too much blur, even if you can kind of clear it up, it's just like, it's not sustainable to be like trying to do that much, fill that big of a gap all the time, I guess.
Yeah, and it introduces too much strain. This is a super common thing. A lot of people do it. It's probably the number one thing. Like once you figure out that it works and you're making reductions, the desire to go too fast, like I'm doing this now, is really common, as opposed to going, okay, I'm making tweaks to my lifestyle as it affects my eyesight and my vision will improve. Like that will be the right way. But what a lot of people do is like, this is what I'm all about now. And then a lot of people just have to go through this experience of wow, okay, that was too fast. And then the second go around is kind of more the right. It's like, you can say it, right? Like you can say it, but some things you kind of got to learn the hard way. Sort of, you try, it's like, no, I can do it faster, right? But
yeah. for sure.
You just end up with more blur challenge. And there's, especially when you have active focus, and especially once you figure out how much lighting plays a role, there is a lot of wiggle room, right? Like you have a diopter, you've got a diopter and a half, maybe two, depending on lighting, where you can tell yourself, I'm still fine with this. But the amount of strain that you're creating, if you're really being honest with yourself, like eyes feel dry, eyes feel tired, right? Like a lot of times you're just like giving up and there's blur and you're just pretending it's not there, is super common, versus just saying, I'm going down a little bit. Or in this case of plus, it's just saying, maybe I'm stepping it up a little bit and then I'm leaving it alone for 3 months or even 6 months, you know, just small doses of it. And then when you regroup and recheck 6 months from now, you're like, wow, that I'm down from the minus 0.75 to minus half diopter maybe, right?
Yeah.
That's all it is. And also the other difficult part is when you're that low, the difference between minus 0.75 and minus half diopter is really hard to quantify, because the difference between a good day and a bad day and a bit of ciliary spasm and a bit of lighting change makes such a big difference that it's super hard to gauge, other than, again, like looking at the bigger picture, right? Like you're passing by the same sign all week and you're like, yeah, it really is clearer than it was.
Yeah.
More patience is required. Than with high diopters, it's really easy to tell. When you're at that minus 3 point something level, it's so much easier to go, this is better, than when you're at that 1 diopter or less.
Yeah, for sure. And even like, because the difference of like not wearing glasses and then wearing like my negative 0.75 is sometimes feels like, you know, in certain situations, it can feel pretty negligible, you know. It's like it doesn't really feel that much different. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
And and when you're at that point, the idea of what I really like to do, or used to like to do, is try to active focus, especially in low light, because at where you're at, when there's good lighting, you can almost not tell the difference. But if you're in low light, or in a movie theater, or somewhere where you really need that extra little bit, is try to active focus without the glasses first, then put them on, because then you're actively comparing the clarity, and then you get it. And then like in your brain, you're like, oh, okay, it's this much clearer. And then you have that active focus tweaked to the level where you're actually using lenses, versus you're just not wearing them and everything's pretty decent, and you're wearing them and you're like, oh, this really doesn't make any difference. You're kind of negating the benefit of combining active focus and that little bit of minus to get you that clarity. So it can be really helpful to go without them, with them. And then once you have that dialed in, then they work a little bit better. Yeah,
there's definitely a big difference at night.
It's little tiny details. Once you're at this point, right? Like it's kind of easy in the beginning, and it's kind of easy when you're dealing with a number of diopters, but everything is much more like tweak levels when you're where you're at. Like the difference between that last diopter and proper 20/20 is lots of little tweaks and just patience. Right?
Yeah. I'd say when you're higher up, it feels more. It's easier. It's easier to pick what you need to go down to, and it's just things are more clear. I guess less clear, you know.
Especially if you're fixing computers, like the good thing there is you're probably varying the distance quite a bit. The worst part is screens, because you're like at the same fixed distance staring at a single focal plane all the time, and there's no movement in the ciliary muscle. Like when you're working on a 3-dimensional thing, at least, as much as you're changing the distance, the muscle keeps changing, right? Like you keep adjusting the focal length a little bit. Still better. Than just.
When and also was working on computers, it's when I was higher diopters, it was, you know, you have your differential correction. And so I was constantly like, you know, switching glasses for like doing this or doing that. So it's nice now that I'm low enough that, you know, if I do wear glasses just for something distance, I do a lot of on-site service as well. So like go to people's houses and, you know, I go in there wearing like my full correction, you know, or, you know, my like normalized, and then I'll like pull out another pair of glasses, work on their computer, put that one down. And, you know, then I leave, I put those glasses away and get my other pair of glasses. So it was kind of felt a little awkward for a little while, but got through it.
Also, in some cases, what can work is using bifocals,
Yeah,
not
I
multifocal
thought
lenses,
about that.
because because multifocals are no good because there's a degree of change in diopters that I'm not a fan of. Like you want one set of diopters up top and one set of diopters lower, but then you got to train yourself to not look straight ahead, because the problem people
Right.
have with those is they buy them, the concept is right, but it only works if you look down, which isn't something for a lot of people. That's not what you do by default, right? Like, so if you raise the device to look at it straight on, then that doesn't work. So that's kind
Yeah.
of a, but in some cases, like if you have to do a lot of distance close, distance close, distance close, it's sometimes worth to train yourself to go, okay, I'm wearing bifocals for this, and I'm also always looking down for the close-up.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times I would, as I said this in my video too, but if your eyes are good enough, you can see the close thing. I got a pair of glasses. Yeah, I'd put them on like this, which looks pretty funny. But look up and you're seeing through them, and look down like at your phone or whatever you're looking at down, and you're not looking through them anymore. So
yeah, tweaks. It's little tweaks. But at this point, like at the point that you know what you're doing, it's easier to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we'll leave it at that so it doesn't turn into a super long one. I appreciate it. Thanks for being on. And I'll also link your other videos so people can watch those.
Oh, okay. Sure.
All right. So that was our episode with Alex. I hope you enjoyed it. I have a bunch more of these scheduled that I'm hoping to do soon. So if you haven't yet, if you want to subscribe to the channel, I also made a separate playlist for all these podcast style episodes. We will soon have these in proper podcast format, so you don't have to actually have them on YouTube. Stay tuned for more on that. See you in the next one.